That was something. That was one hell of an interview. Ron had so much to say, so much to share. I was just blown away. I felt so small compared to all the equipment this guy has collected over the years, and I sure hope that it's something that people who are listening are also interested in.
Just the idea of them using a conveyor belt like they use for roofing or something to get more phones into a barn. That alone, that said it all to me. Like
Hmm.
this is just the epitome of a collection, and that he's part of a community of other collectors and is really talking up some of their life's vocation and how that's all gone.
And Kyle, you just visited the website for the first time, and you had some comments about that.
I really like it. I think we should do more websites with, well, I guess say sort of a minimalist, but or
It's got a
text.
1990s look to it.
Yeah, text, mostly text and buttons
Uh huh.
format. I like the black and white. It actually reminds me, and I'm wondering if this is intentional, sort of a newspaper headline or like a
Well, when you say that, that's something that I like in a website is a newspaper look. Like Slashdot had that. I don't know if they still do, but basically black print on white background. That
Mhm.
works. I don't know why people have blue on pink and ridiculous things like that are very hard to read and they just don't, you don't take them seriously.
And this also it shares some similarities with our own. I noticed that it has some buttons at
Uh-huh.
the top. You have a masthead
But where else do you
identifying.
put the buttons? They're always
No,
going to
I
be on
mean
the top.
it's a good format. I guess maybe we're recognizing some of our own efforts
No, but
in
the way their buttons
design.
look, and we're talking about the website Phoneco Inc.
I'm not saying they're the same.
PhoneCoinc.com. If you go to that website, you'll see the buttons on top that kind of they look like something from the 1990s. I mean, I remember that, and I don't think that's bad.
And they function just as intended.
Hmm.
It's recognizable because of that vintage
As long as they work, yes. And there's a couple
aspect.
of
Yeah.
links that don't work because, well, there's nothing there. But the links that do work seem to work just fine.
I'm gonna explore this more.
Go ahead, Gila.
I did find out that there is a phone museum in Thorpe, Wisconsin, which is about an hour and a half northeast of Galesville. Um, I kind of wonder if everybody there should connect.
Did you notice there was a Galesville, Wisconsin, and a Galesburg, Illinois? What's with the Gales out there?
Well, it's the prairie. It's kind of flat. There is a lot of wind.
Uh huh.
I get it. And
Dorothy's last name was Gale in Wizard of Oz.
that is very true.
Hmm.
That is very, very true. Yeah, the other thing for me is that well, first of all, I'm incredibly thankful that we were able to do this tonight. And to have that conversation with Ron. And then when Mary got on the phone, it was wonderful.
Hmm.
Hearing them connecting with each other in their own home network was really cool like that. And also just to hear, I don't know, the sound of my people is great because I think, well, you guys are all aware I'm kind of holding it down for the Midwesterners in this particular group.
Hmm.
So to,
Not that there
to
isn't a huge amount of love for the Midwest from all of us.
Yes.
Just we
no
have
question, but
great affection for that area.
this is sounding like my grandparents and their friends, and it's I don't know Ron and Mary, but getting to hear them brought back a lot of really lovely memories at this time of year that's a lot about family and remembering and things like that. So I am thankful that we had this show tonight for so many reasons. Um, those are just a couple of them.
It's nice to sort of sit back and just have a hour-long conversation with octogenarians about telephones.
I feel like we could have kept going,
Oh, we could
honestly.
have. We absolutely could have, but BAI would have kicked us off. But we could. I mean, Ron has no limit in energy. Apparently, he can just keep talking all night long.
I
We
was
could have kept
having
going on overtime.
I was having this impulse to slow down and try to keep up, just because I had so many questions along the way. It was such a great, engaging discussion.
Go ahead, Rob.
Also, like the stories that man and both of them must have that we couldn't even scratch the surface of in the limited time we had with him. It's just reminds me of how important it is to listen to stories like Ron's and preserve them as best we can. And I'm glad it now exists in our own archives, and I hope we can continue to add to it.
How did we not know about this guy until now? I mean, we've been
I don't
involved
know.
in this for since 1984, and I never heard of this kind of phone collecting, which is simply amazing.
Yeah, I really have to thank the listener, and the email wasn't signed, so I won't say their name, but they sent us that story from the Wisconsin State Journal about him, which we talked about last week, and just I think with the headline was something like, I saw this and immediately thought of you guys, and it's such a joy to get something like that from one of our listeners and be brought into all this because yeah, we definitely should have known about this.
It makes you realize there's so much out there. Even if you think you know what's out there, there's so much more.
Also, just for the record, Galesville was named for Judge George Gale, who founded the city. We did have a listener suggest that sometimes Irish people are referred to as Gaels, so it could be a nod to early Irish populations. Again, we appreciate the thought that so many of our overtime listeners put in and are willing to share in the chat. So again, thankful for you guys too. Thank you.
Go ahead, Alex. Alex?
Sorry. Yeah, the mute button is a little sticky today. I had so many questions for him, but I really just wanted to let him go and let him tell his story. I'm wondering, though, if he has payphones, just as much as the regular phones. That's sounds like he has an interest in payphones, but I don't know if he's got like a Coca collection or something like that. Do you know, Rob?
Yeah, I'm looking at the website now on phonecoinc.com, and there's a whole section for payphones. There's a whole section for coin-operated customer-owned telephones, as
Cocots.
COCOTs,
Yep.
payphone parts, and just even just looking at the pictures on these, I'm looking at so many things that if I had a winning lotto ticket or something, I would be taking so many of these off his hands because they are gorgeous, and yeah, this is such an amazing collection.
He has 33 semi trailers. That, like I said, that alone is worthy of respect. But can we just get one and drive out there and make some bids on these things? Because, boy, we have a phone booth. I didn't even get to say that. We have a 1950s phone booth complete with rotary dial phone and all that. And I was impressed that we had that. But boy, we are so tiny compared to what he has.
Someone should make a club for installing all these, and you just go there and you can make phone calls and have a lot of background noise with other people. It'll be like a public call center.
I would call it the phone farm because it is a farm already. Does he grow anything on top of all this? He lives on a farm, but is it all just payphones or regular rotary dial phones or things from the 1800s? Very curious.
It's really
I think one of the news articles about him mentioned that this was a cleared out chicken shed that held most of these phones, or a large amount of these phones rather. And so yeah, I think it may have once been a barn and moved on to its current purpose.
Incredible. Wow. Anything else that we wanted to talk about tonight? Because I didn't think this would take up the whole show. In fact, when you book someone who's in their late 80s, you think that maybe you're going to have like a 10-minute interview at best. But he just kept going and had so much to say. And of course, we're all into phones, so we couldn't stop listening. Yeah. And anything else that we want to bring up? Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah. Did he mention? Well, he did mention. So, but did I hear correctly that he wrote 3 books on telephones? Is there something like that?
I believe he said he has books. I don't know if they're written books or collections of pictures. I haven't investigated that deeply.
I mean, I'm really interested in that too. If he's got some kind of catalog or, the best of his collection or something like that, I'm sure our listeners would be really interested in seeing that as well. And I mean, there's got to be something we can do with him with hope in this coming year. I really think there's potential for collaboration here that could be really extraordinary.
Yeah, no, I'm open to ideas about that. It certainly would be a cool connection to have on the campus.
And if not us, many other people that are enthusiasts, that they might, if their imagination is going wild with possibilities and things they've been having on the back burner regarding phones, this is the place, this is the time to really support
We could have
what efforts that Ron has been
a
doing.
whole track just for Ron. He tells phone stories for the entire weekend. He has the energy. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, on phonecoinc.com, on Ron's site, there is a books page, and the first entry on that is Old Telephone Scrapbook, 4th edition, in Adobe Acrobat PDF Word searchable file format. This book includes over 2,200 pages across 3 volumes, packed full of pictures, charts, diagrams, and historical data, written by Ronald H. Knappen. And this is something he sells on a DVD or a USB drive.
Wow. So
Yep.
thanks so much for providing that. And hopefully we can visit him in prison. Maybe we can make a Midwest field trip out of this, where we go to see Ron and his phones, and also see Virgil in prison.
I think that sounds like a plan, because he's just outside Detroit. He's about an hour outside Detroit now, so we could spend a couple of nights in Detroit and paint the town red there, go see Virgil, and then I have no idea. Gila is much more familiar with the geography
Oh,
of the
she's going to
Midwest.
be the tour guide and the translator.
That's right. The translator, right?
Later.
Yeah. Well,
I
they
can't
have
understand what
crazy
they're saying out there. I just can't. I'm sorry.
They have they have the black cat and the backpack and all that.
That's not even close to how they sound.
Oh,
No, I don't know what you were trying to do there, but that wasn't it.
Yeah, that's even I know that's wrong.
I'll be all over the craft brewing and third wave coffee. So wherever we go, that's my focus.
All right, Gila, then Alex.
Speaking of facts about Hope, did want to mention that frequent listener and caller Tim in Connecticut says St. John's was a very good venue. A+ would go again.
Cool.
So we're looking forward to seeing you next July, Tim. Thank you.
And if Ron from Wisconsin wants to come with a semi filled with phones, there is room at St. John's to do just that. So this is the kind of potential that we have in a space like that. Mm-hmm.
On that fanfold paper hung up in our home. Took like 5 sheets of fanfold paper for a big banner of the Starship Enterprise.
By the way, on many of those Linux systems, there is a banner command where you can make those things if anybody's interested. Won't print out dot matrix unless you have a dot matrix printer somehow hooked up, but it's still there.
Yeah, but who has fanfold printer paper anymore?
Probably Ron in Wisconsin, I would bet.
Oh, maybe. And he was so cool.
What'd you think of the conversation we had with him?
Well, I came in late, but what I caught was really interesting, Just like, telephony is like the basis of the hacker community, really, when you get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
like phone freaks were our predecessors.
Oh, they're still very much around, though. They're just, playing with different things.
Yeah, I built the red box in the 90s that you printed plans of.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was around 93.
About that. That sounds about right.
It was called the Quarter.
Yes, I do remember the quarter.
Yeah.
It was called the quarter because what a red box did was emulate the sound of a quarter going into a payphone. And that's all you needed to do to convince the payphone that you had deposited a quarter. It wasn't a very good system.
Yeah, that was fun. I built it on a breadboard, and I always meant to put it in its own box, but I literally just took a breadboard to a payphone with a 9-volt battery hanging off of it and a little button hanging off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Tried it out. The first phone I tried didn't work. And the operator came on the line, so I just got in my car and drove away.
Yeah, that's always funny when the operator comes on and says, "Oh, I need you to put in a real quarter this time." And in fact, there are, when we release the voicemail recordings or voice BBS recordings, which we're going to do, we've been promising to do that. You're going to hear a bunch of those where people are attempting to redbox because they're leaving a message and their time runs out because you didn't get very much time. You got like a minute or maybe 2 minutes. and then you had to like put more money into the payphone, and people would hold up red boxes, and you'd hear the operator come on and say, "Yeah, I'm not falling for that again."
Yeah, because I mean, I remember when I was buying the parts for it, like someone had come in before to buy parts for it,
Mm-hmm.
and I had actually seen that, but I hadn't gotten the magazine yet. And so I'm buying the DTMF encoders, and the guy says, "Do you want some color burst crystals for those?" And I'm like, "No, actually, I want some 6.5 megahertz crystals."
Oh, and they know what that means.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he did. He goes, "Oh, I know what you're going to do with this,"
Uh
like really loud to the whole store. Is 6.5536 megahertz okay? I'm like, yeah.
huh. Oh
But
yeah.
it was a little, but it was like a little mom and pop electronics shop with like all this surplus and stuff like that. It wasn't a Radio Shack who would narc on you back in the day.
Rob, did you have something?
Oh yeah, just I have one of those 6.5536 crystals that I still have from back then. It's glued to a shelf by my desk here, just as a nostalgia piece. And every so often, I explain to people what we used to do with those. It's very fond memories. Also, my favorite response from a snarky operator was someone I knew once played a very bad recording of the tones, very poor quality recording from a cassette into the payphone, and got back an answer like, "What did you record that by the train tracks while a train was going by?" Try again.
Alex, go ahead.
I remember that my favorite place to get the crystals from was 1-800 DigiKey.
Oh yeah.
You be able to get crystals. I wonder whatever happened to them. I doubt they still exist. I'm sure.
DigiKey?
They're still around. I
Are
buy
they really?
components from them.
Oh, DigiKey's
Wow.
serious.
Well,
Yeah.
try buying that from them now. See if you can still do that.
That would be something. It really, really would.
Uh-huh.
I've been playing around with the Flipper Zero firmware recently, and I can't remember which one I had installed, but I was
Did your kid lock you out of your car with that?
not yet,
Oh.
but
Well, it's coming
yeah,
soon. Believe me.
I know. Trust me, I do. And but I was so pleasantly surprised to see that uh, when I updated the firmware, one of the applications that was installed along with this updated firmware, I think it was, what was it called? Rogue Master, I think was the firmware I installed. It came with a blue box and red box emulator, which is very cool. I mean, the tones were
How
definitely way off, but yeah, but it was just kind of cool to play with it, and and you can show your kids the tones and explain to them the significance of those tones that they'll just never hear. They're all gone now. So sad.
Well, who knows? There might when I had that discussion with Bill Squire about analog versus digital, and I was like saying, all the phone switches are going digital now, and the old analog freaking doesn't work anymore. And he was insistent. No, there'll always be a third world country with outdated phone tech that you can get to and get out on lines and stuff. So this is 30 years later, so who knows? But
There really is something to be said for all of that interest and the functioning part of it, that it exists. There are ways of doing it, and there are new generations of people that are getting into it. As our guest was talking about, it's the progeny of a lot of the leaders of some of the antique and collectible groups. There's people that we've seen with their own families that they're bringing up in the whole telephone museum world. People that have worked for the telephone company and hobbied on the weekends and shared their knowledge and their love and passion for it. It's hard. I know some of the museums have volunteers. I got really involved in my local museum, took every opportunity I could to help out and volunteer because I got close to a lot of the equipment. I got to hear some of the stories and the knowledge through the telephone pioneers and through my local museum, and that was, it's so priceless and so cool because a lot of my friends were involved there. People, you meet people, you have an interaction and a way of interacting without having become an outside plant technician or something where you may have never gotten interested in the pioneers or some of the volunteerism side of the telephone company, it's a great way if you don't end up with it as a career. And I think the hard part is that those organizations don't have a lot of funding. The um, projects and the things that we might get excited about, they don't fit in like creating a business model or something like that. But there are ideas, there are ways of being better organized collectively, and I see bits and pieces of it. And just in the conversation tonight, I was thinking about like, what if there was a bar or a club that had 40 phones there that all worked and on some system, or ways we can integrate them into new technology that also have functionality and fit in a world that has forgotten about them otherwise. But it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of effort to build something that's not going to go away. And people start things and then life happens. Those kinds of things disrupt any kind of it's why it's so rare that we find places that have sort of the old and new and the functionality we're dreaming of and all of that. But to get the shared interests together, to get people talking, and phones are a great way to connect people. There must be a way, I think, going forward that some of these ideas and the passion can have a home, can have a way of forming, a way of persisting in an era that has all but forgotten about it. And it takes time. It takes listening to the wisdom that's there, connecting different groups. But I'm so passionate. I'm really excited for what's possible. And we've talked about different ways of supporting some of these ideas, and mostly just being inspired and having imagination for what could be done with old technology like this, and sharing it with other people and building something around that. I really am inspired and just hopeful that we'll hear about new stories and new groups and new exciting places that are using this stuff in cool, playful ways, because we're suffering from abundance. There's all this stuff, and it requires some tinkering and energy, power to function. And how do we make that work in the world that has abandoned it? And that's I think, an interesting question coming away from this that I'm gonna be wrestling with as we approach Hope and talk about different displays and ways of getting people to be excited about it.
I think museums are a good thing because a lot of museums have, like these living history reenactors. And we're getting on along in the decades that we could have like historical reenactors doing phone tech, like phone operators, switchboard operators, demonstrating how calls used to be made, and maybe even like freaker reenactors, like someone demonstrating the skills, like someone sets up an analog switch. Like I saw one video on YouTube of some telephone museum where they started off on like a plug board, and they called to this switch, to this more modern switch, to this other modern switch, to a cell phone.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's awesome.
So like it was just like they did all these stops with using old tech, like using like 1920s tech, all the way connecting to a modern device.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, we had a great demonstration at the old maker fairs when they were when they were in Queens, and we would have the 2600's phone booth connected to a desk phone that we had on the table, and you could connect the two and have conversations between the two, and it was a lot of fun. And it was at one of those that the bond between those who were phone freaks and those who were working at the phone company, and the shared enthusiasm for the technology was made apparent, because I remember an older gentleman coming up to the table, seeing the Bell truck and the phone booth and everything, and coming up and going, "I used to work for the phone company." And I got to tell him, "Yeah, I used to work against the phone company. It's very nice to meet you, sir." And we had a great handshake and a laugh, and it was great.
Guys, so we've been going on for a very long time, and I think we're about ready to go. Gila, I know you had one more thing to say. Go ahead.
do. Yes, we did have something pointed out from a listener. MK says that there's an Android app called Tone Deaf. That's TONEDEF, that creates phone tones, all kinds of phone tones, apparently. So, people who are Android folks, you should check out the app Tone Deaf in the App Store. And yeah, Jay Craft, a club with phone booths would in fact be dope. I think about, cabaret, when people had you can make blue box tones, very exciting. Rob has just opened up the app right here. You can blue box, you can red box.
Oh, that's a quarter. That's 2600 hertz. That's some MF tones there.
And there's also just regular touch tone phones.
Well, that's boring.
Not necessarily. I had a book that tells you how to play TV theme songs on phones.
Okay, yeah, you can play songs on phones. I guess that's fun. But yeah, the real power is MF tones, 2600 hertz, and quarters.
Also, apparently, we're hearing that the best crystal frequency for a red box was 6.49 megahertz. So if anybody wants to take issue or exception with that, that's totally fine. But
the closer you get to 6.49, the better the match was to the tone.
Yeah, but the crystals that were sold though were not that specific frequency, right?
That's right. Yeah, but you wanted to try to get a crystal that was as close to 6.49 megahertz as you possibly could.
This has been such a lovely evening, everybody.
It has. It has a phone-themed Thanksgiving this year.
I want to go to a telephone bar.
Yeah, that used to be a place in the city.
Best thing in the world.
Well, this place is going to turn into a telephone bar pretty quickly here.
All right. Hey, Johnny, have a great Thanksgiving. Good hearing from you. We'll hear from you hopefully next week.
All right. Talk to you then.
All right. Take care.
Enjoy your holiday.
Bye-bye.
And that goes for all listeners, all our callers. Please enjoy the holiday. And I guess, let's be patient with all the crap going on around us. And it'll be fun. It'll be nice. It'll be what you make it. Right? Yeah.
As everything is. Fun Socks again, that's it. The app is called Tone Deaf, TONEDEF. It's an Android only app.
Okay.
I don't know what to tell you guys if you can't find it, but thanks for hanging in with us, everybody. We really appreciate it.
Email address oth@2600.com. Love to hear from you. And I believe we're back on BAI next Wednesday, 7 p.m. Overtime next Wednesday, 8 p.m. here on YouTube. So thank you, everybody, for calling in, for showing support, for contributing in various ways. And I'll see you guys later. Good night.